Come on up here.
Okay, it's recording.
Right. Let's see. We got the three of us today. On the agenda, we had some like I mentioned, we had meetings on Friday with Salam, Ben, and Megan. And with Salam, we kind of talked about his top three priorities. Wanted him to give a status update on this meeting, but it looks like he may not make it. I'm looking over. We talked about the hiring of a grant and funding coordinator with Salam. And it was kind of a good thing we did because he was ready to go with donations like right away. And so we kind of said, or I kind of paused and said, well, we've been doing a lot with the rebranding and the new type of event that August did and whatever and stuff. So let's maybe hold off, and we're thinking probably the fall time, maybe like October, September, maybe around the conference, something like that. We're not exactly sure yet. But so yeah, he was totally on board with that, with finding somebody to do that position, because we all three of us agree that it wouldn't be manageable for Kevin, for myself, or for Salam. So it definitely needs to be somebody else in that position.
Yeah, and it needs to be a full-time position, because they're not going to be just managing grants that are in Ghana, but they'll also be seeking opportunities in the U.S. and Mexico at the same time, or working on corporate type donations that will definitely take more energy, presentations, contact management, those kinds of things.
Yeah. And then we went over his events too, because at the end of last year he drew a budget, like how many each quarter events that he was going to do. So we revamped that with the ones that he has already done, coupled with we're not really sure about the budget right now as far as like how much we need to give away. And so he is going to be definitely doing 2 office medical events, and then 5 boreholes. And if we need it, if it turns...
Well, not 5 more.
No. I mean the 4 boreholes total for the year.
Right. He's got 3 more that he needs to wrap up. Commission.
Right. Right. And so he's already done the food with the pineapple and couple shelter events, the pavilions. And so just depending on how much, if we have left to spend in Ghana, then we decided we're going to do another shelter event kind of added in there. And with him, also exciting, we talked about the April 26th conference event going there, and he will be working on a budget and an itinerary. We're looking at a 10-day visit, landing in Accra, and 1 day for rest, he said, and then do some of the Cape Coast and Kokum, I think some hiking.
I'm not sure. There's some hiking in addition to the forest canopy walks. I don't know if that's outside of Kumasi or where that's going to be, but yeah, that'll be exciting.
Yeah. And then Mole National Park, which is kind of is like a safari.
Yeah,
correct?
It'll be a safari. Yeah,
Safari.
So likely be able to see elephants and monkeys and the like, which will be exciting. It probably will be like a 4-hour type safari. But yeah, that'll be fun.
Cool. And then heading to Tamale for 4 or 5 days to do a big medical event. And we explained too that we were looking at having some medical professionals on the trip. Obviously myself, but Maddie Collins is considering going, and she, her concern as well as mine was like, what are we able to do in the country of Ghana with our current license that wouldn't get us in trouble, so to speak. And so Salam is going to be reaching out to the health department there to see, if an RN, a DNP comes, what is their scope of practice? What are they allowed to do? So then Maddie can recruit people if she wishes, and the same for me. So
yeah, and the key is that whatever it is that we do, we'll be coupling that with the 3S Foundation, which is the medical team that we've been working with in Ghana to do our medical projects in the past. So we'll essentially be coupling. We won't be bringing our own independent team to do our own independent thing. We'll be bringing essentially additional people to help the 3S Foundation out when it comes to medical activities at the giving event there at the end of the trip, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And so we talked to Salam about the importance of keeping that partnership alive and well with 3S, the 3S Foundation, because of all of the events that we do, that's the only type of event that we can't do without some help from somebody or from another organization, and that help is on the medical event. So we need to have a good relationship with them going forward, especially if we start seeking grants in the areas of the medical field. Medical events will need their support on the ground to execute them.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Yeah, I think that was mostly it with Salam. So he's going to wrap up the 3 boreholes. He's going to look at doing a community event and 2 office medical events. That's what it was. And mobile money. He's working on the mobile money, trying to get the bank account set up as well. So that was...
Yeah, and that's obviously his top priority, because we can't evaluate any grant opportunities until that bank account is all set up and opened. So sooner the better on that.
Yeah. And then with Ben, Ben and us, us and Ben and I don't know. We're working with Ben to go over the tasks, and like when we built them with you, Elena, it's time to revamp them for sure. So we are, can you hear me? So he is, we've been...
Yes, I can hear you guys. I'm sorry. I'm just doing dishes, so I have to like take off my glove and then unmute myself.
Oh,
okay.
that's fine.
Yes, I can
No
hear you
problem.
fine.
Okay,
All good.
Perfect,
No problem.
perfect. We were red, so I wasn't sure what our signal was. Okay, so then with Ben, we're working on rewriting the tasks for all of the projects and updating them, combining them. There's some things, obviously, that we can take away that we don't do anymore or don't need. So that's been a huge help in that. I'm looking forward to that new template for the giving events coming out.
Yeah, and we're going to expand. We're basically, is what Ben's doing is, there's the decision on whether we put the descriptions in the details of the task, or we make a task for every detail. And so what Ben has done is he's tried to line up, for example, all things related to blogging, all things related to social media, and then in the description of that task there'll be a checklist. And so there'll be check boxes that can then essentially be checked off, as opposed to having so many tasks and having them maybe not line up in the proper order. We felt that was a better approach, was to have him group the tasks that could be grouped, and then just use check boxes in those descriptions to make sure that all the individual items, if you will, are worked and completed.
Cool. So we've been working on that. His top 3 priorities obviously are the tasks and closing out project number 50, the medical event that we just did with August, working through the borehole projects with Salam 58, 59, and 60. And then eventually he's going to be looking at the Google Ads, which Elena started to look at for us. And he may kind of reach out to you, Elena, to say, or like your opinion, or maybe what you did, how far you got, what you learned. And so then he can kind of go from there and continue it on. So just a heads up, in the future, sometime he may reach out to you.
Yeah, Elena, could you catch us up on that as far as what happened with Google Ads and what needs to happen? We all agreed, and you agree, everybody agrees that this is a resource that we should be leveraging if we can. But can you give us a status on where that was, that you left it, what you remember about it?
Yeah, I mean, get too far into it. I just kind of have like a running understanding, sort of how they work. But I know we get I think it's our first $500 are free, or something like that. And then they also set us up with someone to kind of walk us through the process and teach us how it works and all of that kind of stuff. So my understanding is like you start by scheduling a meeting with someone, they walk you through how it works, like get your budget of $500, and then you can set that for whatever you want it to be.
I see. So, Elena, was
very nice.
that like a budget of $500 a month, a year, or is that a
I
one
think
time?
it's like a one-time 500 get you started type thing.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know if it would continue on. Like I mean, I could see them also doing a program where they would give you a certain amount a month, or like a quarter maybe, or
Right.
maybe it's a discounted ad buy. So like instead of, you know, if Butler Family Dental did it and we spent $1,000, we get $1,000, you would spend $1,000 and then get 2,000 or
Got
something.
you.
Like they might do something like that instead. I don't really know, but I bet they would cover that in that first like meeting.
Right.
I see. And I think that, so based on that and the way that is and our overall strategy that we put together last week for how we plan on raising funds for the organization, I think the thing that we would need to know is how it works in more detail before we commit any dollars to it, because really driving people to the web page, that's great, but the reality is we want to drive them to our social media. And so, as we've defined, and so while it's great to have a donation page and we get donations, for example, that way, that's not our primary focus. Our primary focus is going to be grants, and that will be just making sure that essentially our SEO is good so that we sort high. Maybe doing Google Google Ads will help us sort higher. I don't know, but it seems like that could be an area that, while we even get a benefit from Google, it doesn't line up with where we're trying to generate donations from, because we found, we've got this two-prong approach where the donations are going to be coming from the grants, and the donations will be coming from the grants, and the happy that we create is going to come from our socials. So we'll have to have Benny look at that. He's not feeling well today, I think, as you said earlier.
Yeah, I forgot
That's
to
why
mention.
he's not on the call.
Yeah.
But he when he looks into it, it'll be after that first interview, Elena, that you discussed, that we'll decide if we actually want to put any ad dollars on the Google site, because linking to it
Outside of the 500 you get for free.
it doesn't, unless they give us like $500 a quarter or a year. I mean, it's fine, we'll use it, but I don't know that driving people to the site makes sense in our current donation model. Would you agree with that, Elena?
Yeah, I do agree. I think the hard part too with Google ads, rather than like LinkedIn or Facebook ads, is people are searching for something and then you're paying to be the first listing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not as straightforward as like people searching dentist in Eugene and then we pay to have Butler Family Dental at the top. It's like, are people searching organizations I should donate to? Are they searching like what are our keywords even that people would be searching for, that we would then be like, that's the person we want to put this in front of?
Right, I got you. So it might be more that we use the Google ads maybe for not for necessarily, like you said, like you're explaining, or like I was maybe thinking, driving people to the page to donate, but maybe we're using Google ads to drive corporations who are looking for places to donate to us.
Right.
I got
exactly.
it. Right.
Or you could even like pinpoint the keyword for the regular person, and then instead of directing them just to the homepage, you could direct them to a landing site that's like, here's a few of our recent social media posts. If you want more, you can follow us. Here's the link. If you want to see even more, like keep clicking around on our site, or you can donate, or creating some type of page that we can use for the Google ad if we're going to like target people.
Got you.
And then have the landing page direct them where we want them, which is the social
So
media.
the Google ad doesn't have to direct them like just to our homepage. It can be like a specific.
No,
like
I would recommend we actually set up a page for the Google ad.
Oh, okay. So the Google.
That people click on it. Like, it can be straightforward, but I think it should have its own landing page.
Right.
Is what it's called, because you click on the ad and you land on the page.
Gotcha. And so the way that I see this again, like I said, is that the potential corporate donors would be clicking on or searching for, and then they would land on a page at Give Basic Needs that says how to get in contact us about partnering for corporate donations.
Yeah.
Got you.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. That seems a lot more practical and valuable when we get the grant person on to manage those corporate donations than to actually try to get sending them to our donations page.
Right.
For example. So,
exactly.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Or just showing a Facebook ad to someone who's scrolling and it's like, hey, here's a cool thing we're doing. Do you want to donate? Like,
right.
It's just a different market you're trying to reach.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that is the market that we would want to reach with the Google ads, are the corporate donors, because the rest will come from us doing grant searches or grants being presented to us by the team that we're working with in Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good. That's good to know. I didn't think it through like that. I just was kind of like, why would we advertise on Google? But if there are potential corporate donors out there in HR departments, we could definitely glean some information off of them and then make it at least a way that they could reach out to us directly about getting more information.
Mm-hmm.
Good. What else you
Hi,
got?
Danny and Megan.
Hi, Danny and Megan. Welcome.
Hi. Sorry, I stepped to my arm.
It's okay.
That's okay.
We got to get that. This is a note for everybody. Is that I have to remind everyone of your rule, Daniel, that if you're not 5 minutes early, you're 5 minutes late to this meeting, and I won't be sending out little question reminders saying meeting anymore. That goes for all of those who I do that to, and all of you know who you are, and I will no longer be doing that. It's your responsibility to attend these meetings, and we're going with the 5 minutes early or you're 5 minutes late rule. So that's my little tidbit for the date, and that's directed to you, Danny, right now, but it's also directed to others. You're not the only one that I send meeting question mark to. I do that to others. So we'll just assume that if they're not here, that they have a good reason, and they've cleared that with the Presidio beforehand.
We kind of know why Luke and Haley aren't here, but we'll get into that in the family meeting.
Yeah, that'll happen. That discussion will happen later.
But anyway, okay. Rest of the agenda. Let's see. Okay, so speaking of donations and the Google ads, August's event was completed last weekend. It seemed like it was a good success. About 200 or so people, he said, made it there, so that was great.
Yeah.
We did receive some donations from the event, so that is awesome too. Some were specified for a U.S. shelter event.
Can I back up for 1 second?
Mm-hmm.
So on the donation site, and just to refresh everybody's memory, is that when you click on that you want to donate to our foundation or to the project, to Give Basic Needs, there are options there to say, first of all, what country, and second of all, whether you want food, medical, or shelter. And so with that being there, this is where the Presidio is going to go with that. I just wanted to remind each of you that this is how the webpage is laid out and how the donations were essentially given to us. So go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry, Em.
That's okay. So we got those donations, and
Sorry, how the donations were.
I know. I'm just trying to think.
Oh.
So
I was trying to help.
that's okay.
I thought I took you out of track.
Due to, with the project, unfortunately there was some mismanagement with the project. Certain tasks weren't completed until afterwards, which kind of makes it hard for compliance. And we had some just other issues with that. So currently August is no longer a program assistant for us. We'll reevaluate that possibly in the future, just kind of given the relationship a little bit of a break, and for him to get his ducks in a row and a plan going forward, and then for us too. And so just with that being said, just so you know, if he attends the meetings, he might attend the meetings, I'm not too sure, but yeah, he's no longer a PA for us. But we appreciate the event. It does look like it was a success. We obviously got some donations from it, so that's awesome. My question to the group is, with these donations, how can I keep track of them? So there were 2 donors that said they wanted shelter events. Can you help me with suggestions on how to, like, do I get a piece of paper? Do I say, like, we have $200 for this event going forward? Kind of what are some suggestions? Excuse me.
Yeah. So really back up one point here. So we had 4 donations come in. 2 were directed at Phoebe. Stop. 2 were donate. 2 were in the category of 2 of them were in the category of U.S. donations, and the others were non-specific. The ones that were in the U.S. were in the category of shelter. So the question that the President is asking is, okay, in the U.S., currently we have no shelter events scheduled. How do we keep track of this as the donor's wishes? And Elaine, I'm sorry I interrupted. You can go. I just wanted to make sure that background was given.
I think how we should track it is in a spreadsheet and just make 3 separate, at least for right now, unless we get, 100 donations all at once and it starts to get overwhelming, like this might work for now while we're in I don't know what I'm trying to say. The beginning stages of the project, rather than a point where we might have multiple donations that need to be tracked. Or maybe it starts with mom tracking it and then it moves to the grant writer. They become the fundraising coordinator or something. I don't know.
Right.
But if you did 3 sheets in the spreadsheet, food, shelter, medical, then you can just put day and time of the donation to keep it anonymous, and then the amount, and then just move to the next line when we get another donation. You could even do 9 sheets and do U.S. food, U.S. medical, U.S. shelter, Ghana food, Ghana medical, Ghana shelter, and then for Mexico too. And then just keep track of it until there's either an event scheduled in there. If I decide I'm going to do a shelter event or something, then you can take whatever's listed in the spreadsheet and just subtract that from my total budget. So if there's $1,500, my budget is $2,500, then you send me the $2,500, but only $1,000 actually comes out of ours. And then you could just wipe the spreadsheet clean, because we're not really tracking anything else beyond that. Or you could move it to a different place.
Sure.
Or something to track it. Then just keep it clean. And then every time the funds are gone, then you just wipe that data or move it somewhere else.
Yeah, it's a good idea. My only concern is that what if we don't have a shelter event in the U.S. for 2 years? Do we just... or do we just say right now, look, we've gotten donations for a shelter event. Somebody put together an event. Elena, it's on you. Go do a shelter event in the U.S. and we're going to execute. But you can't do that. You can't do it dollar for dollar.
Maybe we do that once it reaches a certain threshold. Once we've received $1,000 or even maybe $500 of U.S. shelter donations, it triggers an event being performed.
Okay,
I like
I
that.
kind of like that.
Yeah.
Danny, Megan, do you guys have any thoughts on that? I think we had Salam and he dropped, so I'm not sure if he's having network problems. But Danny or Megan, do you guys have any thoughts on how to keep track of these donations? That I think it's important that we continue to take donations that are targeted for specific markets. If people want to help in Ghana, they should be able to specify that. If people want to help in the U.S., they should specify it. Or same with Mexico. But how do we keep track and execute these going forward? Do you guys have any ideas?
I think the spreadsheet's a good idea.
Okay.
And the threshold, or what? Like, how do we know when to execute? Do we wait until we have $2,000? Do we execute when we, so an event in the U.S. pays the program assistant $500. We haven't even gotten $500 in U.S. donations yet. Hello, welcome, Salam.
Thank you. My network has been terrible, but I think it's stable now.
Okay, great. I hope you got your Starlink up.
Yeah, I'm now heading to Tamale.
Oh, okay, and then you will be able to get it. You're not there yet.
Yes.
I see. Okay, great. Okay. What were your thoughts? So what we're talking about is how to move categories or donations that have been given to specific countries or categories, food, shelter, and medical, how to keep track of those and to execute those going forward, because we got some donations from August's giving event, but they're targeted for shelter events in the U.S., and we don't have any of those planned right now. And the challenge is that for a program assistant to execute a project in the U.S., we haven't even got enough donations to cover the program assistant's fees yet. So the question that to Danny and the point came up, and Elena said we could track it in a spreadsheet, maybe with a threshold that once the amount gets to X number of dollars, then we execute. And I was asking Danny and Megan, what were your thoughts on that, Daniel?
I think the spreadsheet with the threshold is probably your best bet.
And so what if it takes 2 years to do a shelter event in Mexico? Do we just keep those dollars there and then send thank yous 2 years later to those people sharing the event we did, and saying, hey, your money went to this event? Or is that not acceptable?
Is there a spot on the form where they can choose to just make a donation to us?
Yeah, and that's
what... Or do they need... Okay.
And that's what...
Because maybe we could take that funding and spread it to the ones that aren't getting as many donations. Like, if we just know for whatever reason no one's donating to the Mexico food one, and there's just like $100 that's been sitting there, then we could take the funds that were meant to go anywhere and put that towards the less popular of the 9 options.
Right, and I think that
so, like, for example, from August's event, we received $340 total in donations.
And so some of them were allocated to shelter in the U.S. and some were just open donations. So the question that the thing is that donations through our website aren't going to be our primary mode of funding. So are these things that we can clearly do a shelter project in the U.S., but maybe not this year. So how do we communicate with the donor in a responsive, educated way to say when their funds are going to be used in a project? That's the real question. So I don't know. Megan, do you have any thoughts?
I think keeping track of the money with the spreadsheet is the best idea, just because there's so many factors that go in there for the location, how much you need, and then the program assistant details.
Mm-hmm.
But for actually communicating it to them, if I was a donor, I feel like there's kind of an understanding that it's not going to get done immediately, especially for the processes that you guys do.
Right.
It does take time to get anything done. So maybe if there's a way to communicate it up front of saying thank you for the donation, it's greatly appreciated, and then down the line we'll share with you the details once it's been completed on it, and then kind of just share the details of what it's going to be used for, and then if anything we could even send the like the website with
Uh-huh.
the specific blog post for it, or the like on the carousel, the event that was completed for them with their sponsor message.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point, and that's really what I'm trying to get at is how do you how do you let the donor know that this is where their money went, and how soon and how do you manage that timeline? And I think, like you said, in upfront, maybe changing the thank you letter to saying, we appreciate your donation. We've categorized it. Like you said, we're going to get back to you.
Is that able, because I know right now in Zephy, once they make the donation, a letter does go out.
Yeah.
So, but is that letter isn't necessarily broken down to thank you for your $35 amount to shelter, correct?
I
That
don't.
would be
I
another
honestly,
email from us.
honestly, I don't know how that is done. I did it. Elena read it, proofread it, but I don't remember how that thank you letter actually goes out. That's not been on my radar.
Okay.
So that should be, obviously, the fundraising coordinator person would be in charge of that.
Okay.
But I don't know where it stands today as far as doing that.
But I like it. Even if it is an initial email from Zephy, then to follow up with a more personal email from myself or you as a CFO to them. Like Megan said, following up, letting them know when or where their money will be and whatnot and stuff. So.
Right, and I think that Salam. I did that deep dive audio. I don't know if anybody listened to it. Hopefully, I posted it in Discord, but it talked about the 7 touches and the importance of these touches to have successful engagement with customers or donors. And so I put that in Discord. I don't know. So it was directly related to the discussion that I had with Salam. But I put it together and I have a follow-up, and that'll be something that, Megan, you'll probably want to listen to, and it definitely goes along with this as the president has said, that we need to do an engagement typically within 24 hours or 48 hours of a donor, whether that's a corporate donor or whomever, that this audio, that this deep dive, this podcast that's 6 minutes or whatever, discusses the strategy that I'd like to use going forward with the organization. It looks like Salam dropped again, unfortunately, as he's traveling. But
Maybe
I also think that as far as the donations go, you need to keep track of them, and maybe you don't allow the program assistants to choose. Like, just make Luke do a shelter one in September. Done.
I like that idea.
Gotcha.
We've got,
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we have X amount allocated for a medical event in the U.S. Elena, that's your event this year.
Yep.
And that'll make it a lot easier. And if you have them in that order, you'll be able to see which ones are the oldest. So when it comes time for you two to do an event in Mexico, you're like, all right, I know it needs to be health.
Right, I like that. That's a good point. Is that we should, instead of leaving it wide open, tell the PAs more what ones they need to do based on the donations we got. I like that.
At least have the category, and then it'll at least cycle through a bit faster.
Yeah, I like that because I'm afraid of it going like 2 years,
Right.
And the ones that are tricky are the ones in Mexico and the U.S. Ghana does these projects Salam knocks these things out every couple weeks. It seems like.
Yeah.
And so it's not, if somebody donates for money to go to Ghana, it's not a problem. The one that I'm worried about is they want to do a shelter event in Mexico, and we've not ever done one before.
Yeah.
And so, but I think that that's a good point, is that if we keep track of it, you know what might be kind of nice is that if we had you know how they do like those fundraising thermometers with like dollar amounts? So like this level is, like we could do what food, shelter, and medical. Maybe we have on the donation page itself, we have this concept of like this thermometer that we need $2,000 to do the event. And now it's got $500 in it. So if you want to see that one happen, donate $1,500 and we'll execute it immediately. Until then, maybe the paid donation page needs to integrate this concept of a thermostat, if you will, of money. I don't know. Do you know what I'm talking about with the thermostat?
Yeah, but I don't think it's necessary.
You think that's overkill?
Yeah, I think it's better if we just keep track of the donations and then manage the program assistants to do those events.
Yeah, I like that. So you just got to say, hey, look, I love you, and I know you want to do a shelter project, but this has got to be a medical one.
Yeah.
Okay, and that and maybe, you know, yeah. My concern too is like a medical in the U.S. I guess that's a hygiene one. So we have done medical ones in the U.S. even though we're not doing doctors and nurses and things. So yeah, we can execute them all. I think that's a better way to do it, Daniel. Elena, what do you think about that?
And Elena's done
I think
shelter
it's a
in the
great
US.
idea. Yeah, I did the $50 off rent.
Yeah. So we can definitely do a shelter event. We know how to do those. Shelter could also be passing out sleeping bags. We've talked about those events.
Or we could do for medical, like the sliding scale thing that I was going to do with that one dental clinic here.
Yeah.
Where we were just going to pay for people's stuff, like whatever I know that's like a little more than, $20 a person, probably.
Yeah,
But they
that's
might
okay.
be able to work some deal with us too, where like, we're just going to put everyone at the lowest end of the scale and then you can pay for whatever it is.
Yeah, and we talked about that with like hearing tests or our vision tests, dental, etc.
Mhm.
So maybe not necessarily ER visits, but more preventative care.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think that's good. So the question is, I think the group decided. Hey, Megan, I'm sorry. Did you have any more on that?
No, I don't have anything else to add.
Okay, so I think the idea is keep track of the contacts so we can reach back out to them. And all of our contacts are in Zephy, but I'm not a Zephy guy. Like, that's not been my role. I set shit up and I make it work and I test it and then I move on. So however that works, we need to get into Zephy. We know that it's collecting contacts. We know we can reach out. We know there's an initial email. Maybe we can look at that and see how we can better interact with our donors and then we'll keep track of their name, essentially. Maybe it's just their email, name and email. And then we know that when we do that event, because we've got, enough funds to do it, then we reach back out to them and say, hey, this is really where your money went.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's a good solution. So a combination of the spreadsheet and allocating PAs to do, or telling PAs if they want to do an event that they need to do this type of event in this place.
Yeah. Okay, I like it.
I like it. That's a good solution.
Perfect. Salam. Okay, he's not back.
Salam
yet
is not
still.
back. I
That's
think,
okay.
again, he's having network problems. I'm hoping that in the future he'll be able to take this, his dishy with him, and then he won't have problems with connections. But he's got to get back to Tamale.
Okay. Yeah, so I think that's everything that I have on my agenda. Do you have anything?
Yeah, I don't have anything. We're still waiting on the tax preparation. I reached out to them. Tanya, I don't know if she has some medical issues that she's dealing with. I'm hoping that she can get this knocked out. She said she was going to work on it this week, but I haven't heard from her. So we're still waiting on that. Those will give us our final numbers. However, if we do move forward with the grant funding position, the grant funding coordinator position this year, I think this is just a reminder for everybody that our contractor wages go directly towards our compliance numbers. So dollar for dollar, if that makes sense. So if we give $1 to the fund to the grant and funding coordinator, that is the same with regards to compliance as us actually doing a giving event. Now we need to continue to obviously do giving events because that's our mission, but as we grow the organization and the more wages that we take on, the less dependence there is on actually giving events for compliance reasons. It's more the execution of grants and funds that we get, etc. Does that make sense, Abby?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, does anybody have any questions on that? All right. So basically, that's how that works. So, if we're looking at maybe the grant and funding coordinator coming on later this year, that means that we're less stressed about being compliant overall. And so that's fine. I'm just saying it shifts up the mix of what the tax people are doing, right? If the tax people, if our CPA says, look, you need to do X number of dollars, it just takes less stress off if we have that. Whether we give those dollars to Salam in Ghana and a coordinator there, or we have somebody in the U.S., or we have somebody in Mexico, or whomever, it doesn't matter. It all counts towards compliance, which is good because that makes those things a little bit easier.
Okay.
So I don't have anything on that. Let's see. No, I'm still working on I'll give you a quick. No, I won't. I'm good. I'm working on some more media stuff, but that's coming in the future.
Perfect.
I think Benny's got a full calendar with a schedule of social posts.
Yeah, we went over the next few posts and stuff for him. He's got 10 or so to work on, so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Elena, do you have anything else?
Nothing for me.
Okay. Daniel or Megan?
Nothing here.
All right. Awesome.
Okay.
Well, thanks everyone for attending, and great meeting. We will see you next week.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.